Oh, hey! Hello and welcome to the show. It's me, John Park. It is time for the first John Park's Workshop of the year, 2024. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had good holidays and some celebrations, some time off maybe, and are enjoying your new year so far. We're still in the statute of limitations. It's only 4 days in. So what's happening here? What have we got going on? I've got things. I've got a coupon code for you so you can save some money in the store. I've got a little project that I was working on last year that I forgot to, I think, ever show, and it's going to be done in 2 stages, and I only finished half of it. But that's a part that we can show, so that's why I've got that VGA CRT monitor set up over there, so I can show you some of that. What else? I've got a recap of this week's product pick. So I'm back on the product pick train, product picks of the week. Let's see, I have a CircuitPython parsec for you, a pretty cool one. And I also have a little update on the Momento camera. I want to show you some photos that I shot with it, as well as give you a little preview of the Learn Guide. I have started working on some Learn Guide stuff for the Momento camera. And I've got a basic example up and running that I wanted to share. So let me see, before I even move on, I'm going to remember that because otherwise I'll forget. I'm going to open that up in my browser over here. So maybe I'll see it, but remind me if I don't. By the way, I'll be showing these travel photos. They are actually just inside of a cabin because we were way up north near Kiruna in Sweden, and that's why I said hey to Johnny Bergdahl. I think you're in Sweden. We had a great time. We got to do some dog sledding and be pretty cold, but nowhere near as cold as it turned this week. So we lucked out, but that was great. Yeah, the northern it gets, the colder it is. Janisku7 saying over in our Discord. They are in Finland, I think. I think that's where Janisku7 is. So also hello to who we have over there in YouTube, DJ MJR. Love the intro. Thank you. That was a little sample-based song I put together a while back using my 1010 Music black box. It's a fun little sample sequencer thing. Update on my Teenage Engineering KO2. Do you remember that one? The cool little big calculator-looking thing that is a sampler and a sample workstation. Is that what they call it? Had the dead on arrival potentiometer, the fader on it. I decided to send it back and get a fixed one from them rather than fixing it myself. Only because, not that it's hard to fix, but it's probably good to let them know that the packaging didn't quite work out and have them. I also didn't want to void a warranty. It was unclear if there was a warranty, in fact. There was an image on the back molded into the plastic of a screwdriver pointing at one of the screw holes as if they're encouraging you to, but I don't know. Actually, they're a Swedish company, so I'm not sure what Swedish law is about that sort of thing, about repairing your stuff that arrived broken. Will they honor that if something else breaks? I don't know. So that I shipped off to them before the break, and hopefully I'll get that one back in soon enough. All right, let's move on with this thing. What do we got? Right here is my coupon code. So in honor of the cold climate up in Scandinavia that people are experiencing right now, chilling is my coupon code. That could also be taken as a way of life. Are you chilling? Chillin'? Chilling, that will get you 10% off in the store. So if you head on over to Adafruit, like this right here, head on over to adafruit.com. That's the store page. That's what comes up right there. Shop. It says shop in the upper left there if you're navigating around. You can throw some of this cool stuff in your cart. Look at, we got these new tiny NeoPixels. These 1111. They are 1.1 millimeter by 1.1 millimeter, tiny little NeoPixels. You can get them a strip of 50. So if you're building something, these are not beginner friendly. I believe you're gonna probably need to create a PCB for it and solder them with a hot plate or a soldering oven. I don't think you're going to be hand soldering those. Maybe, not quite sure. You get 10% off if you throw those in your cart. So go find some cool stuff. Find some cool stuff and throw it in your cart and get yourself 50%. Get yourself 10% off with this coupon code today. Chilling. That would be nice, wouldn't it? 50 is during that thing. I think I got distracted because there's a banner there for my a product picks thing. That's usually 50% off. But today, right now, until midnight tonight, if you want to save a little money, throw some stuff in your cart and use that coupon code right there, chilling. And that's good on any of the stuff that you can get, physical goods. It won't work with software, gift certificates, or subscriptions. So just on physical goods. And oh, that's cute. It's Arnold. Excuse me. Let's sip here. All right. What else? What else is going on? How are you all doing? Hey, Carrie Zafir. Welcome to the YouTube chat. Yeah, and I meant to welcome everyone who came over into our Discord chat. Hello to Tyeth, Uniscu7, Toddbot, Johnny Bergdahl, Jeff, who is GDJ Sky 01, Thin Man, Starman, all the men. I think C. Grover is up in here. Hello. Hi, Gary Z. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, what is next? So, you know, on Tuesdays I have that show. That's my product pick show. It usually looks like this. This, by the way, is a bit of a composite photo. Most of that photo I took in, we just visited. We didn't stay overnight there, but we visited the Ice Hotel near Kiruna where we were. And that background, as well as my my furry parka collar you see there and the neck gaiter were taken there. I comped on a better photo because it was kind of a blurry photo of the foreground JP that you see there. But that, yeah, that was taken inside of the Ice Hotel in one of their snow ice carving kind of rooms. But that was the product pick. Apropos, I thought, it is a Thermocouple amplifier, which lets you take very accurate temperature readings at a very broad range using a thermocouple probe of any kind, any of the different kinds that they make. And if you watch the show, during the show, you could watch the show from inside the product page, and you can get 50% off on the product. That's how the product pick show works. There's no coupon code necessary. You just buy them during the show, and they are at a huge discount. So here is a little 1-minute recap of what went down. Max 31856 Thermocouple amplifier. It is a universal thermocouple amplifier, so it can use all the different types of thermocouple probes. A Feather M4 here, and I've got this nice little display. My ambient temperature right now is 68.2 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll go ahead and plunge that in the icy ice water bath here, and we can see we're getting down to around 37.8 degrees or so. Take that out, and that will rebound, I think, faster if you're not using the metal-ended probe, just because that's got some thermal mass to it. If I grab that with my fingers there, you can see I'm starting to raise that temperature pretty quickly. And then this was some water I boiled for tea earlier, so if I plunge that into there, you can see we're quickly getting up to around 120 degrees or so Fahrenheit. It is the Max 31856 universal thermocouple amplifier. Question for the chat. I always make this, I didn't do it in that video, I don't think, but I always confuse or just conflate Celsius and centigrade. I think when I was growing up, for some reason, the word centigrade was in use a bit. What's the difference between those? I know they're not quite the same, but I think they're sort of similar. Why do I always confuse those? Because they both begin with C, and it's neither of them are what we use here. We use Fahrenheit. Does anyone know? I'm sure the internet can tell us, or a Wikipedia search, but if anyone has insights onto Celsius versus centigrade and why I always say centigrade, if you can help with any of those things, I would love to know. So I ask that of you, the chats out there. By the way, I should mention, if you're watching over on Facebook or one of the other places like Twitch, where there doesn't seem to be a chat going on, we just focus our chat on really the Discord. I'm also keeping an eye on our YouTube chat, but the Discord is probably the best place if you're wondering where to chat. And you can get there by just going to adafruit.it/Discord. That'll get you an instant link invite thing over to our Discord server. And then you can see here on the side, if I move the YouTube chat out of the way for a second, you can see we have a whole slew of different server channels. I should say just channels. And the channel for live broadcast chats is called Live Broadcast Chat. So head on over there if you're wondering where to chat during these shows. James Williams over in YouTube says centigrade is the older term. Okay. And Tyeth says it was a standardization moment when it became an SI unit. That's the International Scientific Notation, right? Or terminology. Converted to centigrade from Celsius, or was it the other way around? All right. Oh, that's interesting. Really? Uniscu7 says -40 is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit. Jepler's quite certain it's not. What's going on here? Temperature has everyone confused. Hi, Jepler, by the way. Nice to see you here. Thank you for popping in. Good to have you hanging out with us. All right, so so far the most confident answer looks like to me the James Williams centigrade's the older term. John Richardson, why does everyone use Discord? It seems very subversive, and then there's an emoji in my UI here that's blocking. And well, that's not nice to say, John. I don't think it's for that, and I'm not quite so sure it's subversive either, but it's a pretty good chat platform, and partly it helps us keep the chat going. Forums are really difficult to have conversations in, and a lot of things like the YouTube chat that are here during the show disappear after the show. I think same, I'm not sure about Twitch, but I don't know that you can kind of unify people talking, so this is, I think, a pretty good solution for that. Not subversion, and not weenies either. What do you mean by that? Centigrades are used by tardigrades? What? All right. Things are going off the rails quickly here. How about we do a CircuitPython parsec? That would be fun. CircuitPython All right, here we go. Let's get this set. So for the CircuitPython parsec today, I wanted to show you how you can use split to split a string into a series of strings based on a separator. So this is useful for cases where you have things like comma-separated lists or other messages such as GPS data, where you have strings that you want to kind of chop up into pieces and use those in a sensible way by putting them into a list, which you can then use list filtering and management of those items. So here's how we're going to do it. You can see here I am creating a variable called sentence, and it's just this text string. This is a neat CircuitPython trick. Then I am going to create a variable that's going to be a list called words, and into that I'm casting sentence.split. So I took that string, which happens to have spaces between the words, but it could be other characters in there that would work just fine to delineate those. And then I'm using sentence.split. That will essentially look for every white space, unless we give it a specific separator to use, and it will chop those up and put them into this list called words. And then I can grab those and do something with them. So I'll show you here in action. If I let this run, you'll see it takes the first sentence. This is a neat CircuitPython trick. Then it shows me what my list looks like, which is broken up into all these separate strings. Then I'm using a little loop just to print them out, to show I can do something with them. And I'm saying for word in words, print them, and then I'm putting a little timing space in there. And then since this is now a list, I can do things like ask, hey, how many things are in that? If I made this a longer sentence and resave this, you'll see we now have a larger string to work with. We break it up into the separate pieces, and now it tells me, oh, we have 11 words in this string. And so this is how you can split a string into separate strings using split inside of CircuitPython. And that is your CircuitPython parsec. All right, I hope you found that possibly interesting or useful. It's also something you'll find if you're doing things like making MP3 players and wave players and using samples. Sometimes you'll be using system directory commands to grab file names such as songs. If you've put things like numbering into your songs, artists followed by album, followed by song name, those kinds of things, you may find split to be useful in those cases to kind of dice things up. And actually, I'll show you another. I mentioned you can use different separators. So if we, let's say we put a comma in here, we can actually just find out the two sort of phrases in there, clauses, by saying what our separator will be as a comma. So I'm going to, in the split command, now say, okay, look for commas, and that's how we'll separate. So now if I look at this, it's going to say, all right, the list is now filled with two things. The first one is, this is a neat CircuitPython trick, and the second one is, as far as I know. My thing here is a little bit of a wonky, where it says this has two words in it. It's actually kind of two phrases or two clauses in there now. So really useful, and thank you, hat tip to Toddbot over in the chat for suggesting this as a CircuitPython tip. If you have ideas for CircuitPython tips, things that you'd like to see me show, things I don't know, there's plenty of those that you think I ought to know about and should be showing and share with other people. Let me know in the chat. Live broadcast chat is a fine place to do it. I will probably see it. All right, let's see. Speaking of the chat, back over here. Yes, someone asked about the product of the day. That is a Tuesday show. So today I don't have a product pick, but I just showed that recap. And I saw more talk. Tyeth says on the negative 22-degree talk. Oh, yeah, so you can, okay, here's a nice link to a weather, checking out the temperature of still air versus wind, I think. Jeff says, interesting, centigrade's an old-fashioned name for Celsius. Freezing point of water for Celsius is 0. Boiling point of water is 100. Abbreviate Celsius to C. Temperature scale is invented and named after a Swedish scientist, Anders Celsius. How about that? It all keeps coming back to Sweden. All right. Next up, what have we got? We got a couple things. So Let's jump into this VGA thing. You can see today's show, I named it VGA Forever. So let me give you a little background. This is a video synthesizer project from Jonas Bears, if I'm getting your name right. I hope I'm getting that right. My apologies if I'm not. And Jonas does a lot of video synthesizer as well as audio synthesis types of projects and education. I think has done some sort of like hacking workshops to have people get together and build these things. And where this all started was, let me go to the cheap hacky AV. This is originally a, oh, that's the wrong link, a project to use a inexpensive VGA signal generator that you can get on AliExpress. Why am I not finding the link to that? Hold on, where'd you go? Oh, that's the store-bought one. Here, where was the original tutorial? There we go. How to make a crap video synth for $10. So, is there a picture of one of these? Where are you? That right there. So these are these little signal generators that you can get on AliExpress or other places for like $5 or $10. And they usually have a series of VGA signals that you can output. You can go through like RGB, red, green, blue, just solids. You can add them together, get a white image, and then some other test patterns. So what Jonas had done was create an oscillator that can drive these to create video synthesis based on incoming control voltage signals coming from like a Eurorack synthesizer or even just audio. So that was the original project. It was kind of taking advantage of that little board and making it do some things it wasn't really meant to do. He then put together a design for a sort of more proper VGA board to replace that. And that's this thing here, the VGA Forever. And it pairs really well with this Shav, cheap hacky AV board. They kind of go together. And the Shav board is the one I haven't finished building. But if you look over on my workbench over here, you'll see there's my VGA Forever board. And it's got, in honor of red, green, blue, it's got Ruth Bader Ginsburg there with a funky, spiky hairdo on the silk screen, which is pretty cool. And you can see I've got some wires plugged into it. So what's going on here? Let me superimpose me there. So in the middle, this is now, instead of that sort of mystery product, $5 thing, it's now based on an Atmega 328, I think, which is what you find in like an Arduino Uno, as the signal generation chip. And then it has, you can see a VGA port at the top, so that's VGA signal going out to a monitor. And VGA is one of those signals that's quite doable for even low power, low horsepower microcontrollers to generate. You can generate the red, green, blue, horizontal sync, and vertical sync signals, send those off to your monitor, and actually display patterns and text, and people have made small video game consoles out of this sort of a hack. So pretty cool to do VGA because it's very, very approachable. A lot of monitors, even modern monitors, can do VGA. I just happen to have found this, I think it's a 19-inch CRT VGA monitor recently that I'm showing this on, and it just looks super nice, so that's what I was going to show it on. And as you can see here on the left side, there are 3 analog controls, these potentiometers, for bringing in the red, green, and blue component, which is really cool. So if you are sending a sort of single image to that, you can pull the components RGB in and out. But you can also do things like filter them and filter them individually, differently from each other. And you can drive them with oscillators in the individual channels. So you see on my board there I have this Eurorack patch cable, mono 3.5 patch cable plugged in. That I'm going to use to modulate or essentially oscillate the red channel of that. If I plug it into the next one, it's the green channel, the next one's the blue channel, and then there are also some little built-in patch points that you can use for that. So let's jump to that view of the world there, and let me go over to here, and I can demo some of this stuff here. So hopefully it'll get the focus right. I have that camera on autofocus. It may, I think I've got enough depth of field that it'll be okay, but it's probably going to try to focus on the human face more than that monitor there. So what I've got right now, let's see, is this the, how about we'll bring in the green channel. So I have programmed this little Atmega 328. Is that what you are? I can't read it on there. I think you are. I've programmed that originally on an Arduino Uno, and if you have an old enough one, you can pop the chip off after you've programmed it and then plug it into here. That gets tiresome quickly, so I built a little programmer using a Metro Mini 328. So that can program over the programming header here. You can plug that in, code in Arduino, and then send code up to this to do something else. So I happen to have coded it to do this kind of funky pattern. I think this was an example, I can't remember, this is like 6 months ago now that I did this, but I think on the site, the website for the tutorial for putting this together, there's some example code in Arduino. And so you can see here, this is just the green channel, and I'm just adjusting that component with this middle potentiometer. I've got my camera as well synced as I can to the refresh rate of this monitor. You will still see that sort of diagonal missync. I think this is 60 hertz, and that's trying to be at 60 frames a second, essentially, through shutter controls, but it's not exact. So that's the green component. Let me pull in. I can dim that a bit and bring in the blue component. And you'll see those will kind of mix with each other a little bit as we bring those in. So there's blue. So I have different patterns, but they're similar. They're just kind of offset from each other. So they're not in the exact same spot, and they do overlap. And then if you look at, plug this back in, the red channel, what I'm going to do, the red channel is actually, you see it has this movement and these wavy lines, and that's because I have patched a Eurorack oscillator, sort of a VCO here on this side, is sending a fast oscillation to that red channel. You can see I can adjust as I adjust things like the shape of that that wave, or that's the pitch of it. So I'm sorry I didn't set this up so we're hearing it as well. We're just visualizing it. But the idea here is this could be pretty cool for visualization of sound, because the same oscillator that's driving your audio, the audio rate oscillations, are also driving the different components. And that can be different patterns in each channel, red, green, blue. That can be different oscillations coming into them from different oscillators. You can do things like FM modulation, so you can get some interesting effects. And you can also do things like adjust the horizontal sync or the vertical sync, also coming in from oscillations. So there's some interesting things you can do. I don't have much demo other than this today, just because I didn't have a chance to go in and reprogram that to do anything much more than what you see here. But that is this fun little project here, and you can see it's got some great silk screen art on there. I don't know why the knight. Jonas did say that the EVA in Forever, the EVA was, I think, the name of the Alibaba or AliExpress chatbot. So it's a bit of a nod to the chatbot on Ali. I don't know why 1987 on there. There are mysteries involved, which is kind of fun. So that is what I've got there. Oh, and of course, by the way, you can, while I've got the red channel receiving oscillator input from my Eurorack, I've got the green channel just doing its own thing. So essentially only the programmed signal generator coming from the chip is what we see on the green channel. Red is a mix of that pattern as well as the oscillator. Same with blue here. I have that. Let me get green out of there. I have blue receiving oscillator input, the same oscillator. In fact, I'm just piggybacking those, right? Is that right? Oh no, it's not right now. Let's piggyback those. So if I take my my blue channel and repatch it into red. Okay, now we get purple, right? Because these are doing the same thing. They're getting the same oscillation from my Eurorack, and so the patterns are aligned. The color channels are mixing, so we can do some neat color effects. So you can imagine if we're sending different, slightly different oscillate, maybe slightly out of phase, then we could get some color mixing and stuff like that. In fact, let me try one thing with that. I'm going to set the blue channel, and I'm going to patch that to, there are multiple outputs on this Tides module here, and I can't remember what those look like. Let's see. So there's blue without and blue with. I can't see that well in my little monitor there, but presumably those are mixing now. Rear. No, that's fun. Okay. So that's it. That's VGA forever. There's not a lot of inexpensive video synth things out there. There's a lot of expensive ones, but I thought this was a really cool example. I think I got the PCBs probably for $10 each or something like that, and the components are not that expensive. I think the claim is that it's maybe $25 to build one or something like that. So pretty cool. Let's see. If you are interested in this, I'm going to just drop a link in the chat. That's this for this site right here. And I'll dive back into this project. Actually, to let you know why I even thought to show this today, I saw on one of the Synth DIY Reddit groups, subreddits, someone was building one of these and asked if anyone could do some troubleshooting on their build, which seemed to be having a problem. And I was like, hey, wait a second, I got one of these. I forgot all about it. Let me go grab it off the shelf, see if it's working, and try to help. So it looked like they just had a jumper plugged in where they didn't need to have it. I think it was just continuously resetting the chip. So that's the VGA for EVA. Go check it out if you're into this kind of thing. All right, and then let me just check in on the chat here. Any questions? No. The last thing I wanted to do was, you remember this little guy right here that I was playing with right before the break. This is the Momento camera. So we have these. I think they're out of stock right now, but they should be coming back into stock soon. So it's a way to essentially have your own programmable, hackable 5-megapixel camera that you can do interesting stuff with. So let me show. There is the main guide right there, and I'm just going to jigger that cropping on screen. I think I can get rid of that there, and there we go. It's a little easier to see. So Liz put together the main guide on this. It has all the usual cool stuff you'll expect. Guide to the parts, the pinouts, the specifications, and so on and so forth. I have the sort of a early version of the add-on for it that gives you a little LED ring that you can control as well if you want to do things like colorize your photos and things like that. But that's the main attraction with the Momento, is that it is some controls. It's a little LCD display so that you can do preview as you'd expect. I think Jeff might be working on a little camera viewer, a little image viewer, because it saves its photos onto SD card, and you might want to review those. So I brought this with me on my trip, by the way, so I'll show you some photos I took with it. The idea is that it's hackable. You can do interesting things like, take photos only when PIR sensor detects movement, do web-based things, do IoT-based things, do bracketed exposures, that kind of stuff, all by coding it yourself. Intervalometers, it can shoot GIFs. We can do things like stop motion, time lapse. So there's going to be some interesting, fun stuff with it. But to get my head around it, I wanted to write up a real basic of how to control this thing in CircuitPython. So this is the page I put together. So just look for, I hid it from you, but on the left side there's a CircuitPython basic camera link inside of the guide, one of the pages in the guide. I think it's the 5th page. And this just has you get it set up, download your necessary libraries from the project bundle. That is the code I have. I think it's just like 100 and some lines of code to do the real basics. And so you can see things in here like setting your resolutions. So you can just go in by hand and pick some preset resolutions. All of this is based on ESP32 sort of built-in camera stuff. So there are preset resolutions, there are preset brightness levels, preset filters we're using that are actually just built onto it. You'll be able to create your own, but some of these are just built in, things like doing an invert filter or what are some of the other ones? I think do we have a blur on there? I can't remember, but so this will show you how to use the little UI that's on there, that's built into the library that Jepler put together. So in that UI, you'll see things like the resolution that you're currently shooting at. So this is at 240, 240. It'll let you know the status of the SD card. There's actually a little switch in the SD card reader, so it knows if there's a card in there or not. And I think it verifies that it's actually able to mount the thing to show if it's good. And then the normal mode versus some of those filters I talked about, and then the type of image you're going to save to disk. So you can save a BMP or a JPEG or a GIF. So there we are, taking a little photo. Tells you snap, you took a photo. And then once you start looking at your photos here, I've got little bits of code to tell you how to adjust things. So if you want to change the resolution, for example, these are the presets. We have 0 through 12. So anything from 240 to 240 all the way up to the full size 2560 to 1920. You can see some of those images there. If you click on those, you'll see the full size image. Here are some of these effects. So PyCam library here, I'm just saying, okay, 0, that's normal image. You'll see these in the preview, and then you can shoot your photos. So effect 1 is invert, just inverts all the RGB values. 2 is a nice black and white. 3 is this reddish filter, a greenish filter, a bluish filter, a sepia tone, and then this solar eyes effect. And then since I have that little add-on there, I plugged that in and used that to do some color. So you can see the goat, my little goat here in the front has a color cast of green or blue or red on it, and that's sort of like a flash, right? So I'm shooting from the flash on the camera. And then we have other camera effects here. This is the full-blown, I'm going to document this more, but this is a full-blown code example that Jeff created that's in the in the library. And this allows you to essentially use the UI to pick those things. So in my examples here, you're just going to go in and manually change those just to get a feel for, okay, how do I just take a photo? What's the command for that? How do I set the resolution? How do I preview that? How do I save that to the SD card and so on? So that is the very basic guide there, or rather the very basic camera page example. I have a bunch of other sort of guide pages for this that I'm going to put together, how to do a remote camera, how to do animated GIFs, how to do stop motion. It'll be kind of a fun little stop motion platform, using the colored NeoPixel lighting for some cool effects, creating your own filters. We're going to see if we can do some both bitmap tools library as well as maybe some convolution filters for a convolution kernel matrix per pixel to do things like blurs. We may be able to do QR code scanning on it. I forget the status of that. And time lapses, like I mentioned, and maybe a web viewer. So those are some things coming up with it. And I wanted to give you a little preview of that, as well as I thought it might be cool to take a look at some of these images that I took. So here, some of them actually are, this one here actually just looks legitimately like a nice image. The rest of them, I think, give it a flavor, kind of like a a Holga camera or some old film camera with light leaks. It's, it's not your iPhone. Like if you want the great photos, use your iPhone or a professional camera. But this one, just in snapshot mode, it's kind of a fun little cool pocketable camera. We were dog sledding when we were in Sweden. I didn't take any photos with this, but I wouldn't have minded as much dropping this as my my iPhone. So maybe just as an inexpensive snapshot camera, it's kind of a use case for it you might consider. So that's a regular color photo that I think I shot at a decent resolution. I scaled these all down to, I think, 1024-768 just for previewing here on the show. But that one is actually a nice looking photo of a little antler on the outside of the cabin where we were staying. Speaking of antlers, so here's in the sepia mode, and also you can see some noise in there, and that's partly because it doesn't do low light that well, and I shot it at I think a lower resolution. I think it was 800-600. But it's kind of nice since it's in the sepia tone. We don't get like color JPEG artifacts. We get just these sort of little grainy bits to it. Here is, I can't remember, this might have been in the Game Boy mode. So if you look in that example that Jeff did, there's a sort of dithered mode. So this is just black and white and using dithering. This is of one of these Christmas straw goats, and it was right next to a little stove, a little fireplace stove. So I think that's what the bright image is there. But that's the little straw goat in this kind of cool, grainy, noisy Game Boy mode. This one I actually shot inverted with the invert mode, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I re-inverted it just in Photoshop. That introduced all this color artifacts. So if you see all those typical color artifacts in there, that is because of me messing around with the image. It wasn't shot in sepia mode. The original image actually was a painting in the lodge where we were of a Danish explorer, I think it was, I want to say. Yeah, very Blair Witch project, Todd says. Well, you haven't seen nothing yet because the final one I have of here is this moose skull and antlers. I don't remember what mode that was in. It has color artifacts, so it may just have been low light and the regular color mode. Yeah, that's pretty Blair Witch. That was also up in the cabin there. So let's go back to this happy one here. And that'll do it for my vacation photo. Sorry, it's not probably the normal vacation photo set you're expecting, but those were some kind of fun little snapshots to shoot with the Momento camera there. All right. So let's see. I think that's going to do it. Oh, that's cool. See, Grover over in the chat said they're planning to do some green screen photos using the palette filter library and the LEDs. There could be some interesting stuff you do with that. And any other thoughts or question? No, looks good. Okay. I think that's going to do it. So hey, thanks so much for joining me for the first workshop show of the new year. I'm going to go work on all these camera pages for that guide and get those in there so that if you do go and grab yourself one of these, you can get yourself 10% off when they're back in stock if those moments align. Otherwise, look for a coupon code on a different day. They're $34.95 for the Momento board, but that coupon code will work on anything. If you want to get one of these, you can sign up to notify by putting your email address in there and clicking. But yeah, head to adafruit.com, go find some neat stuff, and you can get 10% off with today's coupon code CHILLING. Use that before midnight tonight Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time. I don't know which one we're in. I can never remember which is which. All right. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. I think that's going to do it for today. I don't know if there's a deep dive tomorrow, but we'll be back. I think next week should be the return of 3D Hangouts. I'll be doing my product pick show on Tuesday. So for people who are asking in the chat, that's a Tuesday happening. I'll have another cool product pick. And then we'll have show and tell on Wednesday. I think I'll be hosting that one, either that one or the one of the week after. Guest hosting. We'll have Ask an Engineer, and then this will happen again. So thank you everyone for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been John Park's Workshop. Happy New Year. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.
VGA